The question is, how do we get from, querying data, and I've actually run a query about my own company about some of the things we're doing and finding out what's out there, and some of it's wrong. And how do we get as we look at regulation, there'll always be this assurance piece. How do I get?
And I think Isabella may have something to add about, the future. I don't know if she'll give you 5 years. Maybe it's too generous. What do you think, Isabella?
Well, happy birthday, Jeff. Early birthday.
Happy
That's
birthday.
exciting coming up. Yeah, I totally agree how amazing technology can assist us. And back to a little bit on the data part, I was at the Green Summit, Wall Street Green Summit last week, and they all agree that we have a lot of data, but the question, or what we should say, the priority right now is to leveraging technology to find out the right data and then to extract the value out of those data. Because now lots of company, whether big or small, there sits on a huge amount of data. That's why the data storage is becoming another climate issue. It's burning electricity, causing global warming, whatever they define it. So that's one thing. And another thing about how to analyze this data is how do we create the terminology right now? It's let's say a sort of guideline, a framework. And right now, everything is about environment. And 90% of the ESG sustainability is still about the environment. But we're talking about social here and the governance. And those are severely missing in this framework. So they have a lot of discussion about that as well, how to integrate a more holistic framework and guideline in order to have a way to source those data, and it's critical. So this kind of information, I think it's very useful in guiding us on a social impact perspective to integrate the S and integrate the G, not just the E. And from the technology perspective, totally agree with Jeff, the amazing power and how fast this is developing. And the world richest person lately actually just said all the programmers should start looking for another job because that's how powerful AI is doing to us today, replacing all types of the functions that we used to think only human can do. So it's a very interesting future. And I always found amazing discussing this with different minds. And Jeff, well, every time I love to talk about these type of things.
Yeah, I think at least right now, my biggest concern is the quality of the data. How the question is, how do we get from, querying data, and I've actually run a query about my own company about some of the things we're doing and finding out what's out there, and some of it's wrong. And how do we get as we look at regulation, there'll always be this assurance piece. How do I get AI generated supplier data to a point that I can say that, either have an outside assurance party say, yes, this is in fact true, or get it through my legal department or my audit department and say, yes, this data is assurable. As we, an analogy is, right now, the SEC left scope 3 out of their regulation because there's almost no way to assure that scope 3 data is accurate and repeatable, and everything that we're going to provide an assurance opinion on that. I think that's going to be an interesting thing, is how do we begin to use supplier social data in a way that maybe isn't assurable, but use it in a way that we can get benefit from. And as we do that, I believe the imperative to improve the quality of it and the repeatability and auditability of it will come along, as there's and it it might take outside groups, it might take frameworks to deliver something that was once just out there in data, that a Google search or a chat GTP prompt coming back saying, yes, my suppliers are doing this, is not the best evidence. But at some point, there will be evidence that could make it through my legal department and my audit department that I could include in a a report about our suppliers and what they're doing. But right now it maybe points me in the right direction to go talk to them and say, all right, I found out this about you. I need, what evidence can I obtain to support us talking about this being part of our product. So I think, just because there is a possibility for error doesn't mean we shouldn't use it. It's how do we use it in a way that the technology allows now, and then at the end of the day we can say, okay, well, this is where it needs to get, and support those groups that are leading to creating that.
First thing I wanted to, point you to, and Isabella talked already about the amount of energy in memory space. We had a couple of weeks ago one of the world-renowned experts and the head of IEEE, the president of IEEE organization, talking about on camera. We have the recording about the impact on the memories and the evolution of the electronic memory. But going on the data, I wanted to connect it back to what you said. When you talk about, we joked about being single, double, triple materiality, but one thing which links materiality is audits. So financial data has to be audited especially if you are a public company. And now data has to be traceable, auditable. And at AKFI, we started to look into the data that it has to be exchanged between car companies and tire manufacturers, right? Or cars need the tires. And they find out that the tire manufacturers are reluctant to share the data. It's not in the contract because it wasn't, sustainability is not yet made it to the supply chain requirements. And also they don't have the auditable data in some cases. In other cases, they deem that it's proprietary, includes processes and things they want to keep as a industrial secret or a trade secret. So although I love this vision of a big data pool where we can go and fish for whatever data we want, I think there are legal hurdles, as you mentioned, hurdles related to being accurate data, auditable data. So I'm a little bit more conservative in thinking that this future is close to us, but because you mentioned already, it has to go through the legal department, it has to go through the operations department, and at the end, companies don't keep data necessarily along this axis, like this is your data and this is my data, and we'll keep it separated or firewalled so you cannot see what I get. Maybe pricing information, for instance, is reflected in carbon footprint. So it's still a complex problem, and yes, we're looking for standards at AKFI on how to standardize this relationship between suppliers and their customers.
And that's definitely a role that third parties can play. In my former position at Preferred by Nature, we did a lot of work as in the forestry and land use space, and there were many groups that would provide were willing to provide information to a third-party source that aggregated information that could provide a certification or a seal, saying yes, this is in fact, they do in fact pay their workers a fair wage, but they did not want to tell their customer, what those wages were.
Exactly.
I absolutely believe that is the role of third-party certification, and that is not going to go away. What that looks like and how it's that controlled access. I think we're all going to learn a lot as data becomes more accessible. The need to curate what data is made public, and so having a third-party organization that is trusted, that can certify something like that could be immensely helpful in that, and might actually be what comes out of having all information available everywhere at once, saying, okay, actually, we're going to compartmentalize, and this group is able to see it, and you're going to have to trust that them saying that yes, this is good is what you're looking for. So, but their ability to do that might require, will require a digital transformation. As some of these certification, working as a certification body, it was very interesting to see the transition to remote auditing and the reliance on more data than on the ground audits, and quite frankly, relying more on looking at checking the data elements of some of these certification systems really was a great practice that provided a level of rigor that might have been missing from these physical on the ground audits that we had to transition to during COVID. So I think that is something that is interesting, and it's how do we balance it all. I see the digital transformation changing the way that we work and the things that we pay attention to and the scale of everything. But I've never been one to worry about working my way out of a job, because it's there's always going to be ways to drive that, and you find a technological solution to one problem, and what that does is allow me to focus on the next issue. So I would welcome the ability to address these issues at a more rapid pace, because boy, my list of things I'd like to work on never it feels never ending. One of the hardest things I have to do, and things I've been working on, is limiting the amount of projects I'm working on at once, because if I try to do it all at once, then I don't make any progress on any of them. So it's picking the two or maybe the five total things I'm going to work on, and not the entire whiteboard full. I've got a whiteboard in my office at work that's got everything, got my 5-year strategy, and it's kind of depressing because there's 3 things on it that I'm working on now, and a lot of them are, hey, you've got to wait. So accelerating my ability to do that, I welcome that. So
That's an extremely positive message, and this is the right way to think about the future, right? It's about finding better ways to do what we do, and finding new ways and new opportunities in what we're doing. And I can reassure you that now the positions of CSOs, Chief Sustainability Officers, and sustainability are growing. And yesterday I was advising another company, and they were asking, why don't I hire consultants? And I asked them, okay, so who is going to manage your consultants from inside your house? Because you let them loose, they will send you the bill. You don't know what they are doing. So you still need quality control and an insider. You can't just, hire, I don't want to name the big 3 consulting firms, but I'm sure you all know them, and or big 5, whatever they are. You always need internal knowledge. You can just hire consultants for everything and operate only as consultants. So as all these debates, exactly what you said, between why you need standards, why you need neutral organizations, non-profit like us, to step in and address these problems that are collective and need to be solved by the industry or by the professionals. But I think time is going really fast. I think we're having a lot of fun. I'm sure Isabella will subscribe to that. We have, I guess, one last questions for today, but we'd like definitely to see you back and continue the dialogue and track your progress and the progress of your company. So Isabella, maybe back to you.
Thank you, Manuel. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for sharing your work insights, your personal feelings, and everything around this sustainability topic. And we have a lot of interns and students, and we've seen in this sustainability space, and they really wanted to pursue a career in such a topic, whether it's consulting, management, or in the sustainability strategy role. And what's your advice to them? And what are your recommendations? Any piece of advice you would like to offer?
My advice, I guess, is find you're not going to find the perfect role. Find an opportunity and make the most of it. Be it, if you're I started my career in a position I thought was going to be doing exactly what I wanted to do, and I ended up spending half of my day trying to sell the solution that I wanted to work on implementing, and it pushed me. I had to learn a set of skills that was difficult for me, and it wasn't my favorite thing. But I was able to do it, and I learned and grew from it. So find, don't hold out for the perfect thing. Find what you can find and make an impact there. Find ways to do work on things that you want. Another thing is I have a high school student daughter, and sometimes she looks at companies as evil and only wants to see she's very idealistic. And I think look at how business can integrate doing good into its mission. And how do we find ways to make an impact while conducting business. It's consumerism can have its drawbacks. But find ways to use that power to promote good behavior, to educate people. Don't be afraid of working for a business doing promoting sales of a product, but make sure to find ways to improve the results. How do we make a supply chain that is has positive impacts on the communities, because stopping buying it from them will put a lot of people out of work. How do we help them have meaningful, safe, fair wage jobs that can support a product that I think is a meaningful thing. So find, support dignity in work and meaning in work, just in your own and in other people's, and maybe spend that extra minute to say, how do I bring dignity to myself? How do I bring dignity to others? And not just do it in a superficial way, but in a real meaningful way. And that I think that is, if you can say that first, instead of just say, here's the list of problems that you're bad because of this. It's like, no, how can I meaningfully bring dignity? So I think that would be my piece of advice, my rant. I'll get off the soapbox.
No, but it's an excellent story, and yes, it's much easier to criticize than to improve. It's much easier to solve problems than avoid problems. I can speak as an engineer, and we are trained to solve problems. Give us a problem, give us enough resources, and we'll probably find a technical solution. But for instance, if we want to move to sales is not a problem. Sales is an opportunity. And you mentioned, by the way, selling ideas at New Skin and in your past, right? You have to spend a lot of time asking, receiving resources, and working with the resources. You have financial people to move the yardstick, the whiteboard, and put more effort in the long-term strategy. And I think you really wrapped it all in these recommendations for, and we have students and we have volunteers, and it's interesting. We have volunteers in the middle of the career which are saying, we want to solve the problem of the environment. And I said, which of them? You cannot say. There are many problems to be solved. Narrow it to one that you can have, as you mentioned, a scope of control, of influence, of progress. So I'm back to Isabella.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you so much for the wonderful ending to encourage everyone to be fearless, to be proactive, to not to look for the end destination, because that's really our like subconscious desire for everyone. We want to see all the way to the end, or we want to see this is the exactly right thing we should do. But a lot of time it takes certain steps and stages to get there. So we need to start somewhere, and everything has its unique impact. So do our best on each step. It's very critical. So that's a fantastic advice. And thank you for your time today and all the insights and from your work and from your own observation. And thanks to our audience for tuning in. Make sure you join in us every week for a new episode of AKFI's Actionable ESG Talk series, where you can gain new perspective on how to mitigate risk and create value by integrating ESG and digital transformation. Until next week, bye for now. Bye, Manuel. Bye, Jeff.
Bye. Bye, Jeff. Bye, Isabella. And thank you.